Mylock, a towering prisoner, violently knocks out another inmate in the prison yard. When Mylock refuses to back down, the guards rush in to restrain him. Inside a cell, prisoner number 451 sits quietly reading a book. Despite his calm demeanor, 451 is feared as the most ruthless inmate, known for killing cellmates without hesitation, even once pulling out a prisoner's teeth with pliers. The scene then shifts to a factory in Russia, where Kyle LeBlanc, an American worker, talks to his wife Gray LeBlanc over the phone. Gray invites Kyle to go on a vacation, but he declines, caught up with work. While Gray prepares dinner at home, a stranger named Sergio Kovic watches from outside. Suddenly, Sergio breaks in and attacks Gray. When she fights back, he pulls out a folding knife and kills her. Hearing Gray's screams, Kyle rushes home. He arrives to find his wife covered in blood and unconscious. Sergio tries to strike Kyle with a flower vase, but Kyle blocks the blow and chases after him. Their fight continues on public transportation, where Sergio lunges at Kyle with his knife. They exchange blows and crash onto the street. Sergio manages to escape while Kyle, injured, is taken away by the police. At the trial, Sergio is cleared due to his wealthy family and a bribed judge. Frustrated and enraged, Kyle grabs a police gun and kills Sergio in the courtroom. As a result, Kyle is sentenced to life in prison without parole and sent to Krvavy prison, Russia's toughest facility. That was the last day Kyle LeBlanc lived as a free man. This is in hell. Upon arrival, Kyle and other new prisoners are introduced to the ruthless warden, General Hrushchev, who is known for shooting escapees on sight. Among the newcomers is Billy, a 21-year-old American. All inmates must surrender their valuables, including Kyle's wedding ring. Kyle initially refuses, but is beaten and forced to comply. Later, officers cut Billy's long hair during inspection. That night, new prisoners without assigned cells are forced to sleep together in one room. Kyle notices a guard wearing his wedding ring and feels a surge of anger, but holds back. He manages to secretly keep a photo of Gray. After everyone falls asleep, Kyle wakes to hear guards taking Billy away, selling him to a senior inmate named Andre, who is known for exploiting young men. The next day, all prisoners head to the bathroom. Kyle, still new to prison life, watches in confusion and resignation. His attention sharpens when he sees Andre leaving his cell, leaving Billy battered and bruised. Recognizing Andre's mocking face, Kyle lashes out and strikes him. As a result, Kyle is thrown into a filthy isolation cell, where he refuses the food offered by the guards. Days of starvation leave Kyle weak and unstable. He attempts something desperate with his uniform but fails. Frustrated, he pounds his head against the wall, which draws the attention of a prisoner in the next cell. The prisoner knocks on the wall, urging him to stop. Then, a butterfly slips through a broken window into Kyle's cell, reminding him of Gray's plea never to harm small creatures. The butterfly lands gently on his food plate, sparking a flicker of hope. Thinking of Gray, Kyle begins to eat again. After 5 days in isolation, Kyle is moved into the same cell as prisoner 451. The guards warn him that 451 has killed 3 cellmates and demands money for any transfer requests. Kyle ignores their threats and quietly enters the cell without causing trouble, avoiding any greetings to stay under the radar. The following day, Kyle's brother-in-law visits. He tells Kyle that Gray has been buried according to Kyle's wishes and urges him to use the money given to find some comfort within the prison. In the days that follow, Kyle and the other inmates are forced to work outside without pay, with all profits going to Krvavy officials. And used to hard labor, Kyle quickly grows exhausted but is ordered to keep going. During a break, Kyle meets Billy, who thanks him for standing up to Andre. They then encounter Malachi, a wheelchair-bound prisoner who smuggles goods into the prison. Malachi warns Kyle that 451 is dangerous and advises him to act quickly before 451 kills him. He explains that officials tolerate 451's brutality because inmates pay to change cells. That night, Kyle stares at Gray's photo and has a nightmare, causing a commotion in the cell. Irritated, 451 covers Kyle's mouth and nose until Kyle wakes. One day, while eating with Billy and Malachi, Kyle is harassed by Andre, who strikes and spits on his food. Kyle holds back, trying to avoid a fight. Soon after, Sparka begins. This brutal fight forces prisoners to battle for survival, while officials place bets on the outcome. Andre remains undefeated and feared by all. Knowing he will be the prize if Andre wins, Billy secretly crafts a weapon from a toothbrush handle. However, the plan fails when Andre discovers it and responds by beating and injuring Billy with a makeshift weapon. The next day, while working outside, Kyle runs into trouble again. A member of Andre's gang pushes him and falsely accuses Kyle of disrespect. The landowner orders Andrei's gang to settle the matter, so Kyle is beaten. Strangely, Kyle is then sent to isolation. Upon entering, he taps on the wall, signaling the prisoner next door. Over the next week, Kyle befriends that prisoner through the wall taps. It turns out to be Mylok, who was moved to isolation after attacking someone during Sparka. When Kyle leaves isolation and returns to his cell, he encounters Andrei, who mocks him. Kyle walks away without responding. Meanwhile, he secretly reads 451's book, and surprisingly, 451 does not stop him. During lunch, Andrei provokes Kyle again until Kyle finally snaps and punches him. As a result, Kyle is sent back to isolation. At the same time, a guard's vehicle explodes from a landmine near the work field, distracting the guards. Billy and other prisoners try to escape, but are caught and punished harshly, sold to inmates with cruel intentions. Meanwhile, Kyle begins physical training to build strength and prepares to enter Sparka to face Andrei. The fight is tough at first, but when Kyle loses control, he bites Andrei's neck until Andrei dies. The crowd is stunned as Kyle shows signs of losing himself. Prison officials exploit Kyle, using him to generate profits from bets. Other prisoners pity Kyle, seeing him as a tool for the guards. Even 451 warns Kyle not to lose himself or become a pawn. On Russia's Independence Day, Billy attempts an escape. Malachi unexpectedly gives him a free exit key, although he usually charges dearly. Before leaving, Billy says goodbye to Kyle. Meanwhile, a new prisoner named Valya arrives at Krvavi, ready to fight Kyle and Sparka. That night, while prisoners celebrate independence at dinner, Billy slips away quietly. However, Malachi betrays him by tipping off the guards in exchange for special medicine. From a distance, 451 watches Malachi's betrayal unfold. Billy's escape plan fails, and he becomes the prize for Valya's Sparka fight. After Valya wins, he confronts Billy, who resists until the next day, when Billy is found dying from Valya's beating. When Kyle visits Billy, Billy's last words urge Kyle not to lose himself. Sometime later, the match between Valya and Kyle takes place. Kyle refuses to fight, causing the prison officials to lose their bets. In response, they punish Kyle by tying him up in the middle of the yard. Meanwhile, 451 meets Malachi, who tries to offer him kerosene. Unexpectedly, 451 pours the kerosene on Malachi instead. Despite Malachi's desperate pleas, 451 sets him on fire, feeling betrayed by Malachi's earlier betrayal of Billy. Unlike Kyle, who endures days hanging in the yard under harsh conditions, the other prisoners begin to sympathize with him for standing up to the officials. Even Andrei's gang, once hostile toward Kyle, now makes peace and refuses to participate in Sparka fights. Warden Hrushchev grows confused by the unrest and addresses all the prisoners, declaring he will force Kyle to fight again, this time against Mylok. During the brutal fight, Kyle struggles until he suddenly realizes who Mylok really is. Kyle knocks on the cell wall, signaling to Mylok, who recognizes him as a friend from isolation. The revelation shocks everyone. Fearing his plan is failing, a prison guard shoots and kills Mylok. Chaos erupts as prisoners break down cell doors and riot. Amid the turmoil, Kyle and 451 are seen talking. 451 explains that he spared Kyle because Kyle does not talk much like the others. He promises to help Kyle escape if Kyle can deliver evidence of Krvavi officials' crimes to the authorities. Inside the prison, guards violently suppress the riot, beating prisoners who resist. The next morning, all prisoners are gathered in the yard, some lying unconscious. 451 breaks through a cell wall, showing Kyle the evidence against the officials. He tells Kyle that he can leave after fighting Valya. The plan is to make Kyle appear useless so that he will be executed regardless of the fight's outcome. This gives Kyle a chance to escape with the proof against Hrushchev and his men. Later, the fight between Kyle and Valya begins. Both fighters display impressive skills, but Kyle wins after breaking Valya's arm. Furious, Valya tries to cheat by stabbing Kyle with a hidden knife. The attack misses Kyle and hits Valia's own boss instead. Seizing the moment, Kyle delivers a final blow, avenging how Valia treated Billy. As 451 predicted, after the fight, two guards take Kyle to the parking lot to be executed. Before it happens, 451 arrives to help Kyle fight off the guards. Kyle strikes one guard and drags him to a car being lifted by a jack. He pins the guard down by releasing the jack. Shortly after, 451 handed over evidence of Khrushchev and his men's crimes to Kyle, urging him to expose the corrupt system in Krvavy prison to the public. To escape, Kyle disguised himself in a guard's uniform and drove out in a prison vehicle. The gate guard, assuming Kyle was an official, allowed him to pass without inspection. Meanwhile, 451 confronted Khrushchev in his office. Furious at the general's ruthless treatment of prisoners, 451 attacked him with pliers, pulling out his teeth. Shortly afterward, guards arrived to find Khrushchev dead and 451 calmly sitting on the sofa. In the film's final scenes, Kyle is shown free, preparing to hand over all the evidence against the corrupt prison officials to the authorities. 3 months later, Krvavy prison is officially shut down. So the moral of the story is if your prison buddy starts pulling teeth with pliers, maybe let him pick the movie on movie night.